Okay, we're going to do a recall with remote sit. That's where the dog is sitting in a remote position. We call her, and mid-recall, we stop her and have her sit again. One thing to remember about this, guys, don't overdo this. You know, if you stop her every time you call her, pretty soon she's going to think that she's doing the wrong thing. So 1 out of 4 times that you call her, can you do this procedure where you actually stop her midway. 1 out of 4. If you overdo it, you'll get a dog that's afraid to come to you. They think you're going to stop them automatically. Now, had she not come to me, I would have tugged the lead. Had she not stopped, I'd have snapped up like this. Heel. Obviously, this dog is trained such that we don't have to use the leash. But I showed you all that, so if all else fails and you're having trouble and you're confused, you can see how it was derived, or literally put the leash back on, which is what I suggest you do if she gets confused and you do, and work her with the leash a few times after watching this video. Then go back to using just the e-collar. All right, now we're going to go through and do the same thing, and we'll show you how we would use the e-collar. First of all, when you first take her out, have your setting at what I'd say a high working level. Because when she gets out, she's going to be the most excited. It's going to take the most pressure to actually get through to her. As she calms down, you can reduce it a bit. So for her, on a DT collar, I would say she's somewhere between 6 and 11. Okay, so when you first get her out, I would err on probably somewhere around 7. Just enough so you can see. What you want to do is set your collar such that when you make a correction for a simple problem, that one correction tends to do the job on the basic stuff. She's educated enough now where if she breaks a sit command, for instance, you should be able to give her one sit correction, and you should be able to bring her down to a controllable level immediately. We call that titrating, using enough pressure to get the dog to immediately begin complying. Okay, so sit, stay. Outside hand, outside foot. Watching her as you step away. If she was to move, it would look like this. And right as I finished blowing that toot, the nick would happen. So I'll clap my hands when the nick would happen. Okay? And that's the way that nick is going to be used with any command. It's right after the command. So in general, you give the command. If the dog fails, you repeat the command immediately, followed by pressure. So again, if she broke the sit command, it would be, and the clap would indicate where the nick would be. Now we'll do some heeling. Now, if she didn't take off with me right away, just like with the leash, I'd stop moving and start over, but this time heel, and I'd nick the collar to move if she didn't take off with me. Good. Now that she's moving, I'm watching her face. Good dog. Good girl. Praising her when she's doing it right. When she makes a failure, I'll make a quick correction. Good. Okay, now I'm not going to make any corrections now, but I am going to do some outside and inside turns. She's doing so well, I don't want to give her any corrections. We don't give corrections if the dog doesn't fail. If they don't fail, we always give them praise or positive reinforcement, some sort of payment. Outside turn, ready? Good dog. Inside turn, ready? Stop my motion. Rotate into the dog. When she follows all the way through, heel. Begin to move again. Stop, rotate into the dog. She follows through, then we continue our motion. Sit. Always watching the dog as I step away. If she was to move from the sit command, it would look like this. And I'd use a sit nick if she broke. Now I'm going to do a recall. You notice when I'm doing this off-lead work, one hand's on the e-collar, the other hand is directing her. I made a mistake and I wasn't watching her. Don't do that. Especially when you first get her out, keeping your eye on her at all times is critical. When they first get out, they're excited. That's when they're going to probably be most likely to make a mistake. All right, recall with remote sit. Heel. Sit. Heel. Heel. When you do the remote sit with the recall, if she doesn't sit immediately, when you raise your hand and blow the sit whistle, very quickly redo the hand gesture, say sit and Nick as fast as you can. So it would look like this. Heel, sit, sit Nick. That's how fast you would do that second one if she didn't sit fast. And then of course, repeat until you get a success. Heel. Sit. Good girl. Heel. Sit. Heel. Okay, cut it. Having the right training tools available and ready to go is very important when you are transitioning all of this training from here to home. So when you have her at home and you are not watching her, I suggest you have her in a kennel. When she's out of the kennel, she should have an e-collar on and you should have the transmitter as much as you possibly can. So when this dog is literally up and about out of the kennel, she should have a charged e-collar on and the handler should have the transmitter. Now, obviously she's not going to live the rest of her life like this, but for the first month or two, and even more with some dogs, it allows you to have the training tools readily available to make a timely correction so you can get success and take all of this training that we've done and transition it into your home. So what I'll usually do is have the e-collar charger right next to the dog's crate. So when she's put in at night, take the collar off of her, put it on charge, okay, sit. So it would literally be on the charger. When we come up to the dog in the morning, put it on her. Okay, if she tries to get out of the crate, just shut the door. Now, if at any point she gets wild when I'm trying to handle her, just like with a puppy, we'll do a pressure on, pressure off muzzle squeeze. Literally squeeze until she relaxes, and then you relax. One hand's on the collar, one hand's on here. So when you're trying to put an e-collar on your dog, if they get wild, squeeze, then relax until when they calm down, and then start putting your collar on. Okay, when we open the door, we say sit. She stays in the crate. If she tries to get out prematurely, shut the door and nick and say sit at the same time. Lexie, sit. And then I'll have them sit immediately when they get out of the crate. Anytime they get out of a crate, anytime they go out of a door, anytime they go off the tailgate of your truck, make them stay in the crate, release them as soon as their feet hit the ground, as soon as they come out of the door, have them sit, and if they don't, sit nick immediately. If they sit great, give them positive and move on. Cut it. When you first bring her home, get the e-collar on her as soon as possible. Get her out of the vehicle, do your big free, so your sit, your walking heel, your recall under close proximity to the car, and do about 20-30 seconds of it. Just get a couple timely corrections. Make sure, in other words, make sure she's listening right there. Then release her to go to the bathroom. As soon as she's done her business, bring her back under control. Take her to all the different parts of the yard that she lives in and go through the big three: the sit stay, the walking heel, and the recall. Okay? and get a success on each one, making corrections when appropriate, such that you're basically teaching her, hey, every part of this yard that you live in, dog, all of this stuff applies. Once you've done that, then you're going to bring her in each room of the house, and you're going to do the same thing. And you're not going to beat it into the ground. You're just going to do enough such that she does a few obedience procedures, basic obedience procedures with the proper reinforcement in each one of these rooms of the house, such that you're communicating with her that all of this obedience that she learned here applies in all of these new environments, all these home environments. Because remember, when she goes home, she's probably going to think that all the old rules that she had apply. You're showing her that the new rules apply by doing this with her. Cut. Let's talk about housebreaking for a second. She's been in a commercial kennel here. Quite a different environment than at home. We suggest that you give her slightly less responsibility at home than she had when she left. That way you're ensuring. It's all about ensuring that you start and make it impossible for her to make a mistake. So when you're not watching her, have her in a crate. Go through all the stuff that you did to housebreak her when she was a puppy. The main thing, don't let her roam around the house, and give her all that responsibility for at least a week. So if your eyes aren't on her, she's in the crate. When she gets out of the crate, she immediately goes outside. Allow her to relieve herself, and then come in and spend short periods of time out of the crate where she's with you and in the house. And over time, slowly go back to giving her those responsibilities. If you go home and you give her too much responsibility, she does relieve herself in the house, you're going to start a bad habit that's hard to break. Cut.
Bingo.
Now let's talk about the e-collar. There's lots of different brands of e-collars, but most of them have a momentary button and a continuous button. And the DT collars, they call it a nick button and a continuous. The momentary delivers a short flash of energy. The continuous delivers a continuous pulse of energy. So you get much bigger response with the continuous. If your collar does have both functions, what I recommend you doing is setting it up such that the nick stimulation gives you plenty of power or punishment, such that you get, once you use it, you get a very good, quick behavioral response, and the dog goes to listening very quickly after you use it. So set it such that it's enough pressure where the dog starts listening right away after you use a correction. And if you keep it on that setting, if you have to use a heavier correction for a dog that deliberately is disobedient, so if the dog does a big no-no, you can go to the continuous button and it'll give you 1.5 to 2 times the perceived pressure. So the great thing about having it set up like this is really it allows you to, on the fly, go from a moderate correction to a heavy correction. And with dog training, you don't have time to look down at the dial and play around with it. You've got to make a very rapid decision and a rapid correction. So this perfect setup. Set it such that the nick gives you a moderate, and that continuous will give you a heavier correction. So for her, I'd say in the yard setting, probably a 7 would do that for you. Don't feel afraid to raise it up or down. Every collar's different. You analyze what works the best with your dog. Whatever you do, don't nag your dog and use a tiny bit of pressure and find yourself continuously using it. If you're continuously using this thing over and over for the same command, you're using it at too low of a level. If you use it and you get a nervous response, a big yipe, then you're obviously using it at a too high of a level. So in the beginning, start low and slowly work your way up until you're getting the right response. That allows you to do it in a safe way such that you don't damage the dog. Okay, putting the e-collar on properly. Obviously the prongs go against her neck. You're going to put the collar all the way up to the high part of the neck. The higher on the neck, the thinner the neck is, such that if you put it all the way up towards the top, it's a guarantee, even if it slides down the neck, it can't get looser. If it gets loose, that's the worst thing that can happen, because you may be trying to use proper punishment for a failure, and you might not be getting through to the dog. Literally, it might not be making contact. And then what will happen is you'll raise your intensity thinking that you need to raise it because it's not high enough, And when the collar finally does come in contact, you might overstimulate. So having it in the right place is really important. Now you notice that I can get about 2 fingers underneath this strap comfortably, okay? It's pretty tight. I mean, if I put all 4 fingers under there, it's very, very tight on my hand. So if you can get 2 fingers comfortably underneath it, that's about good. And the main thing is just be logical. Feel where the prongs are. Are they making contact with your dog's skin? Because if they're not, you're not going to be getting a consistent correction. Okay? And obviously, if you're hearing labored breathing, like a response, it's too tight. All logical stuff, guys, but put it all the way to the top of the neck. That way, if it does migrate down, all it's going to do is get tighter, not looser. Sit.